No one in the courtroom expected it. When Justice Amy Coney Barrett pointed directly at Elon Musk and accused him of defying the rule of law, it felt like the tech billionaire was finally cornered. But instead of crumbling under pressure, Musk calmly stood up and unleashed a move so bold, so meticulously prepared, that the Supreme Court chamber would never be the same again. What happened next stunned not just the justices but the entire nation. The Supreme Court of the United States had seen many high-stakes battles, but none quite like this. As the heavy oak doors creaked open, every seat in the chamber was filled, not just with journalists and legal scholars, but with senators, tech executives, and a handful of stunned citizens who had managed to secure tickets to witness what was predicted to be the public chastisement of the century. At the center of it all stood Elon Musk, the enigmatic billionaire whose very name could ignite admiration or fury. Today, however, he wasn't launching rockets or unveiling electric cars. He was facing down the highest court in the land, alone. Justice Amy Coney Barrett, known for her razor-sharp constitutional reasoning, sat at the bench with an expression of cool detachment. The government's case against Musk was simple. X Corp, Musk's social media platform, had refused to comply with newly expanded federal communications regulations. Experts had already predicted a brutal reckoning. Pundits on every major network had all but written Musk's legal obituary. But as Musk adjusted his dark tie and placed a thick, leather-bound folder on the table before him, something in the room shifted. Even the justices, seasoned veterans of political drama, sensed it. There was a weight in the air heavier than decorum, the feeling that something unexpected was about to happen. "Mr. Musk," Justice Barrett began, her voice slicing through the silence like a blade. "This court demands an explanation for your blatant disregard for federal law." The audience leaned forward. Some smirked, anticipating Musk's collapse. Others simply stared, breathless. Musk did not flinch. His voice, when it came, was measured but firm. "With respect, Your Honor," he said, "what you are asking me to defend is not a violation of law, but a defense of the Constitution." The words hung in the air, defiant, almost heretical. Even Chief Justice Roberts arched an eyebrow. A murmur swept through the gallery like a sudden breeze. Musk continued, his tone calm yet compelling, "Today's case isn't just about me. It's about every American's right to speak without government coercion disguised as regulation." Justice Barrett narrowed her eyes. Big words for a man accused of flouting the law. Musk allowed himself a small, almost imperceptible smile. Then, with the fluid motion of a man unveiling a secret weapon, he opened his folder. Inside were not counterarguments nor apologies, but pages of carefully compiled evidence. Internal communications, FOIA-obtained emails, and even excerpts from prior Supreme Court opinions meticulously annotated. "My team has uncovered documentation," Musk said, raising his voice slightly, proving that the regulatory measures imposed upon X Corp were not intended to protect public interests, but rather to pressure platforms into aligning with government-sanctioned speech. The Solicitor General leapt to his feet, objecting furiously. But Justice Barrett raised her hand, silencing him. "I want to see it," she said, her voice low but firm. One by one, the documents were passed up to the bench. Justices who moments earlier had appeared indifferent were now hunched forward, flipping through pages, expressions hardening. Musk stood silently as the court examined the evidence, the murmur in the gallery swelling into a buzz. Even the most cynical observers realized that something profound was happening. The world had come to see Elon Musk humbled. Instead, it seemed they were about to watch the government, and perhaps the very concept of regulatory overreach, put on trial. And Musk, he wasn't just fighting for his company anymore. He was fighting for something much bigger. Justice Amy Coney Barrett, known for her unwavering focus, flipped through the pages Musk's team had provided. The other justices followed, brows furrowed, pens scratching notes onto yellow legal pads. It was clear. The courtroom had shifted from judgment to investigation. Elon Musk stood motionless, letting the evidence speak for itself. His dark suit contrasted sharply with the grand marble columns that framed the room, giving him the appearance of a lone figure facing the weight of an empire. "Mr. Musk," Justice Kagan finally broke the silence, her voice curious but cautious. "These documents suggest a level of regulatory manipulation we cannot ignore. Are you asserting that the FCC knowingly circumvented First Amendment protections?" Musk nodded, measured. "Yes, Your Honor. And not through open legislation where the people could see and object, but through administrative force hidden behind technical language." A murmur spread through the spectators. Even veteran journalists began rapidly texting editors. This wasn't the story anyone had expected to file today. Chief Justice Roberts leaned forward, his tone sharper than usual. Mr. Musk, challenging federal authority is no small matter. If your allegations are true, they strike at the heart of our constitutional balance. Musk didn't hesitate. I understand the gravity, Chief Justice. That's why I spent a year assembling this case personally. Not as a corporate defense, but as a citizen defending the principles I believe in. Justice Sotomayor interjected. You suggest the FCC's directives were intentionally crafted to pressure speech without overtly regulating it? Musk met her gaze directly. Yes, Justice Sotomayor. They sought to do indirectly what the Constitution forbids them to do directly. These documents show their intent in their own words. Across the bench, the atmosphere changed again, from skepticism to solemn consideration. Barrett flipped to a highlighted section of Musk's binder and read aloud. While direct regulation of speech content is restricted, technical compliance requirements offer an indirect pathway to enforce desirable moderation outcomes. She set the document down, her face serious. This memorandum is deeply troubling, she admitted. The Solicitor General, sensing danger, rose to object, arguing that internal communications could be misinterpreted without full regulatory context. But the damage was already done. The Supreme Court, an institution built on careful deliberation and respect for precedent, was now staring directly at a potential abuse of power. Musk remained calm. We filed multiple motions to challenge these regulations in lower courts, he said, his voice steady. But when administrative agencies use complexity as a weapon, even legal experts struggle to untangle the web. I realized that waiting for traditional appeals could allow irreversible precedents to be set. Justice Thomas, silent until now, leaned in. Mr. Musk, you have presented serious claims. Yet critics argue you are driven by personal ambition, not constitutional principle. How do you respond? Musk allowed himself a moment, choosing his words carefully. Justice Thomas, my companies can survive fines. I could have settled quietly like others have. But liberty doesn't erode all at once. It slips away inch by inch under the guise of reasonable regulation. If the wealthiest citizen among us cannot challenge government overreach, who will? The response hung in the air like a challenge issued not just to the bench, but to the nation itself. Justice Barrett spoke again, softer now, yet with unmistakable intensity. And if you succeed, Mr. Musk? What precedent do you hope this court sets? Musk's answer came without hesitation. That government power cannot hide behind technicalities to achieve what it cannot openly impose. That our rights are not dependent on the cleverness of bureaucrats. That the Constitution remains the supreme law, even in the digital age. The gallery remained silent, absorbing the gravity of the moment. For the first time since the hearing had begun, the 9 justices were no longer adversaries Musk needed to outwit. They were, at least for this instant, fellow guardians of a fragile constitutional order he had come to defend. And as the Chief Justice called for a recess, one undeniable fact was clear. Elon Musk had changed the conversation, and perhaps history itself. When the court reconvened, the atmosphere was transformed. The solemn weight of constitutional principles now outweighed the initial narrative of corporate defiance. Justice Barrett, her demeanor cool but attentive, addressed the room. This court must consider not just the facts of the case, but the constitutional implications they raise. Mr. Musk has introduced serious questions regarding the boundaries of regulatory authority. The Solicitor General attempted a rebuttal, but the momentum had shifted. Musk had redefined the battleground, forcing the Supreme Court to confront not merely the specifics of a corporate dispute, but the broader principles that undergird American democracy itself. Observers inside the courtroom whispered among themselves. Seasoned reporters exchanged glances, sensing the magnitude of what was unfolding. Justice Thomas summarized the shift best. It is the duty of this court not to defend regulatory convenience, but to defend constitutional integrity, especially when challenged by unexpected voices. In a rare move, the court announced it would issue an emergency order to pause all FCC enforcement actions related to the disputed directives, pending full review. It was a stunning interim victory for Musk, and for the broader principle of constitutional vigilance. Outside, as Musk exited the courthouse, cameras flashed wildly, reporters shouted questions, and the world reacted to the unexpected twist. Musk paused only briefly before the microphones, delivering a statement that would be quoted worldwide. Freedom doesn't survive by accident, he said. It survives because individuals, regardless of wealth, status, or power, choose to stand when standing is hard. Today was never about me. It was about defending the space where free ideas live. And with that, Elon Musk walked away from the cameras, having done what few thought possible. He had forced the highest court in the land to not only hear him, but to listen.